Trust is the fundamental building block of any society. It underpins our relationships, our operations within institutions, and the methods by which we navigate various systems. However, in today's digital age where technology permeates every fiber of our being, the landscape of trust is underscored and undergoing a seismic shift. It is for this reason that over the next 30 minutes, we'll be embarking on a thought-provoking journey into the heart of trust. We'll be looking at the erosion of public trust and how tech can improve accountability by tracking the promises of politicians elected to deliver the dividends of democracy. Beyond this, we'll also be looking at the breaches of trust within the banking sector leading to cyber fraud and how tech can address this problem leading to a secure future of financial inclusion. With that, I bid you a very warm welcome to Channels Beam, where curiosity meets conversations, taking us a step further into the future we desire. I am Sunes Nathaniel, and on this episode of the program, we'll be tracking the future and rethinking trust in the digital age. As always, let's begin with our top tweets from the passing week. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
For some days now, the word coup has been lingering in the air, and it's becoming a major talking point on X. This follows an online publication suggesting that the Presidential Guard is on high alert over suspicions of a coup plot in Nigeria, a report that the army has since debunked, terming it fake news and assuring Nigerians that they remain committed to upholding the nation's democracy. The hungry man is not a smiling man, they say, and many Nigerians are feeling the economic crunch at the moment, causing smiles to be wiped off their faces. And as such, they have, in conjunction with the Nigeria Labour Congress, decided to stage the hashtag End Hunger Project. However, emerging reports suggest that the police sealed off the NLC sub-headquarters in Yaba, Lagos State, in an effort to prevent the protest from being staged. The Carabao Cup final between Chelsea and Liverpool generated a huge buzz all over social media. The game lived up to its billing, with Liverpool snatching the win in the nick of time, handing Chelsea a loss that becomes more bitter with the fact that the Reds played mostly with kids and not the big names.
Thanks for staying with us, and a hearty welcome to those who might be joining us now. As stated earlier, today we are looking to track the future by rethinking trust in this democratic age. Joining me right here to address the issues are two brilliant gentlemen. First, we have joining me in our Abuja studio, God bless Otubere, the global president of Ready to Lead Africa, which is a development-driven nonprofit. He is a U.S. State Department Mandela Washington Fellow and a member of the Global Advisory Board at the Presidential Precinct in the U.S. You're welcome, Mr. Otubere.
Thank you for having me, Sunesh.
All right. He's not going to be the only one who's going to be speaking today. Also joining us via Zoom from Lagos is Mr. Morakinyo Animashaun, a highly accomplished technology and cybersecurity professional, boasting an impressive career that spans over 3 decades. He currently serves as MD and CEO of Wimika RMS Technologies, a specialist in SOTech venture that aims to improve trust and enhance financial resilience in the emerging markets. You're welcome, Mr. Animashaun.
Thank you for having me, Sunesh. I'm looking forward to the conversation we are going to have.
All right. Thank you very much. Let's get right to it. I will begin with you, Mr. Otubere. We have said that the trust between the masses and the politicians have been eroded. Mm-hmm. Now, the question then becomes, if it has been that frayed, if it has been that bad, is there a chance to restore this trust between the people and the politicians? And if it's possible, how do we have this happen?
I mean, it is possible. It is possible to restore trust between politicians and citizens. Put again, between leaders and citizens. And the way to do that is to see that the Commonwealth is being used for the Commonwealth. That politicians don't live in an alternate universe, whereas citizens, right, live in another universe. If you want to restore trust, it's the idea that we have to go back to the social contract, which is you gave up some of your rights, I gave up mine, the politicians gave up his, and we said, let's create a constitution. And the constitution said, with the people, that, you know, pursuit of liberty, freedom, happiness, and all of that, justice. Once citizens begin to see that if they are wrong, they can get justice, irrespective of their social status. If government and politicians say we're going to build roads and build hospitals and build schools, and citizens see that these things are being done, and they see that if citizens understand that they can go to government offices and they don't have to bribe anybody, right? If citizens understand that they can engage the police and the police will not demand or extort them, trust will be built. Trust is not a one-dimensional conversation. It's a two-way affair. If I don't slap you, you don't slap me, right? If I don't hit you, you don't hit me. It is in that line of my belief that I engage you, knowing well that I can turn my back and walk away without you stabbing me. If I come to you, I turn my back, I go, you don't stab me, I do the same thing again, you don't stab me, third time, fourth time, fifth time, sixth time, it becomes a habit. There is trust, right, created. So if politicians execute projects, fulfill promises they made during elections, if citizens pay their taxes, and contribute to society, because it's not just the leaders doing their part. Citizens have their role to play. If citizens don't break traffic lights, don't demand money from politicians when they come for elections, trust will be built. And that way, you rekindle it, and then you have a society that is better off. It's
beautiful that you have brought in projects, because I know recently you launched the Follow the Promise, which is a civic tech mobile web application, you know, that looks to see how much implementation of the promises that the politicians have made, especially the governors, how much of those promises have been implemented. Talk us through, you know, how this works, how this innovation works, and how it ensures transparency, you know, and accountability of the political class, and also induce the citizens to play their part.
Okay, thank you so much. So we made an error in 1999 when we came back to democracy. And the idea was, oh, we're coming back to democracy and vote, 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 vote. And we didn't emphasize follow the promises, follow the manifesto, follow the promises. So 1999, 2023, 2027, 2011, 2015, 2019, 2023, we're still hearing vote, vote, vote. But something is changing, which is we have now called it the era of 1999, which is we are now bringing back the very reason why democracy succeeds, which is accountability. So what we're doing now is we're saying, look, we have a federalism, in quote. Well, we may not be practicing fiscal federalism completely yet, but this is a federalism where governors have a level of power over resources at the subnational level. And you have the federal government that, you know, arranges all of this stuff. But what we're now doing with Follow the Promises is that we just don't want to talk about the solution. We want to design products, right, that citizens can use, tools to solve the problems. So what Follow the Promises does is that it empowers citizens at the grassroots level, at the LGA level, to follow the manifesto and promises made by governors during the elections. So what they do is that they follow these promises every day. As government holds meetings, they say, oh, we've approved XYZ money to build XYZ stuff in agriculture, education, water, health, technology, manufacturing. Citizens who, because at the end of the day, the states are designed and divided into local government areas, communities. What we are doing with Follow the Promises is that we've built a mobile app and a web app that is available on the iStore and the Play Store. And people can go there and download it and be able to follow the promises made by governors. Another thing we're achieving with that is that as this data coming from every local government, we're able to sit where we are and say to the governor, Mr. Governor, you were not elected to work in only your local government. You were elected to serve the people in the entire local government of your state, SOSA, you have been working in 3 local government out of 25. It is not good. That is poor performance. Governors look at it and say, no, but we've approved projects. So it's a symbiotic, it's a situation. So we're empowering citizens with technology, and it's amazing how people from the grassroots are responding, and the data that we have is just amazing. I mean,
we're going to come back to the database because it's very key. I think that also helps us bring in Mr. Animashaun. Thank you for staying with us. Let's get right to it. Cyber fraud is eroding, trust in digital finance, and then the question becomes, over 25 million consumer banking customers, like we researched in Nigeria, have fallen victim to cyber crimes, right? So how do we tackle this and rekindle faith in the system?
Okay, thank you for the question, Sunest. Okay, so first of all, I think it's important to understand that cyber fraud is a multidimensional problem. Unfortunately, thus far, we've been trying to tackle a multidimensional problem with unidimensional solutions. Because of this, it's not been so successful until we come back to realize that cyber fraud is multidimensional. And in order to tackle it effectively, we have to apply multidimensional solutions, multidimensional measures. Then we won't make a lot of progress. So let me give you an example of different dimensions. So cyber fraud, obviously, because it's cyber, has a technology dimension. Apart from that technology dimension, it has a social dimension. In fact, most of the consequences of cyber fraud is not technology, but it's social. Okay, when somebody has lost their money, the impact, the socio-economic impact of that loss has medical implication, has economic implication, may even have implication for the school fees of the children of that person. Okay, so there is a social angle to this. In addition, there is a legal dimension. Okay, and that's where you have all the law enforcement agencies and all of that. Unfortunately, we have not been able to piece all of these dimensions together into a holistic solution. So each of the different dimensions are running on their own lanes. And until we are able to create an ecosystem that draws all of these dimensions together, then we are not likely to have the kind of effect or impact we desire to have in cyber fraud. Now, for every fraud that occurs, it is an erosion of trust, because the entirety of the financial system is built on trust. And every time something happens to make that trust fail, is eroding trust for, first of all, that individual, and thereafter, every other person that individual is connected to. And on a larger scale, everybody that's part of that ecosystem. Because when you hear that somebody has been defrauded, it makes you more careful as a person. When you hear that somebody has been defrauded and the person was unable to recover their funds, it begins to cause you to think about what you can do to protect yourself by yourself without leaving it to the system to protect you.
Okay, let me just come in there. Looking at, let's go to the solution. There is a solution like Wimica. How does a solution like Wimica come into, helping to clear this eroding, trust within that financial space, especially when it comes to the individual and the organization? Can you talk us through that?
So what Wimica has done is Wimica is built an ecosystem that allows us to apply technology, allows us to look at, to tackle this problem in the multidimensional way that it requires. Okay, so there's technology, there's a social side, and there's law enforcement agency. So Wimica has brought all of this together into one solution that allows us to provide, starting by providing preventive technologies that basically reduce the likelihood of a consumer banking customer from becoming a victim of cyber fraud. Okay, and then it goes beyond the preventive, because there's never anything that's 100% preventive. Okay, so it now goes to tackling the issue of if a fraud actually occurs, if somebody becomes a victim of cyber fraud, what happens to the person? Right now, we know that in Nigeria, more than 95% of people that become victims of cyber fraud never recover their funds. so long that kind of statistic stands, it will continue to erode trust in the system, and it will affect financial inclusion. Okay, so we have a second leg that takes care of a remedy for people that have been victims. Okay, so basically there's a guarantee that if you have been a victim of cyber fraud, you get a refund of the amount that you have lost from your account.
All right, Mr. Animashaun, you're going to take that part. That part, I'm very interested in that part. When somebody falls victim of cyber fraud, how do they get such a reimbursement? We're going to be taking a break right now, and when we return, we'll be looking at the implication, of this increasing reliance on digital platforms. And then we'll also go back to Mr. Animashaun to tell us about that reimbursement when somebody has been defrauded. Just stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching Channels Beam, coming to you live from our studio in Abuja. God bless Otubore and Morakinyo Animashaun, our guests today. And we're still looking at the tracking of the future and rethinking trust in the digital age. We stopped Mr. Animashaun right, in between when he was about to say something very crucial. And I want him to start from that. How do you use a solution, an innovative tech solution like that, to have people get reimbursement after they have, experienced cyber fraud?
Okay, so it's really nothing new to society. So it's called risk management, and it's something that we are all very familiar with. It's just that we are not familiar with it in the context of your bank account. Okay, so if you have a car and you insure your car, if you have an accident, you get a reimbursement to remedy you or to bring that car back to a good situation. Now we are using the same kind of thinking, the same kind of risk management techniques, okay, to guarantee that if somebody loses money from the account, they are going to be reimbursed by having insurance underwriters that understand this risk. We've been able to show them how to quantify the risk. We've used technology to show them how the risk makes sense, and they are underwriting this risk so that when you have a loss on your account due to cyber fraud, they reimburse you through us, okay? And that's really the platform we built, okay, to allow insurance underwriters to work with us. We quantify the risk, we price the risk, we make the risk reasonable for someone to underwrite. And they reimburse within 7 days anyone that's lost money to cyber fraud and is on this platform we're talking about.
So the question is, many Nigerians, I'm going to stay with you for a while before I come to Mr. Otubore. The question is, many Nigerians are not very open to insurance these days. How does it play out? Do they have to pay something, or is it just you have to undertake that underwriting and then you just give the money?
Okay, so they have to pay a subscription for our service. As I said, what we've been able to do is we've been able to create a multi-dimensional solution. Okay, so this solution encompasses different components. Part of the components of this solution is the fact that we have organizations like the law enforcement agencies, Nigerian Police, Ministry of Justice, Consumer Protection Agencies, and all of that as part of the ecosystem. So we built an ecosystem that guarantees every consumer banking customer that is subscribed to this platform, to this service, that from one end to the other, they are protected. First of all, by starting with a preventive angle, a preventive component that seeks to reduce the chance that they'll be the next victim of cyber fraud. Part of that preventive component is a security awareness and training component. So one of the risks in cyber fraud is the human risk. People make errors. People take, they make choices that opens them to cyber fraud, that makes them susceptible to fraud. We are going to close this gap by empowering people with cybersecurity awareness in a manner that's easy, simple, and that basically makes them more immune to becoming victims of cyber fraud. But there are also other components in the preventive part of it. So we are leveraging AI a lot, machine learning and AI, to analyze a lot of data from the end user side that allows us to set a baseline for every end user. Okay, so let me take you, for example.
Okay, let's make it a bit faster so that, because we have very limited time. Get to it.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so someone that knows, when they hear your voice, without you announcing yourself, they know it's you. When somebody sees you from a distance, from your gait and the way you walk, they know it's you. So we've been able to build in the same manner some digital identity for each person that's connected to our platform that allows us to know when the person is the one that's trying to carry out a transaction or when it's a suspicious transaction or is an illegitimate user. Now, because we've been able to put all of this together, then it's easy for us to be able to offer a solution that allows us to reform if those things fail.
All right. All right. I'd like to hold it there and come to Mr. Otubere in a very quick fashion. I'm going to ask you, looking at what we've discussed so far, like how much distrust is the problem of this nation? And how can we further, use a solution like what you've said or what you've given us to build transparency? Quickly, just before we run away.
Well, building transparency in governance and amongst people is the technology itself is not self-executing. People have to use it, and government have to be transparent enough to say we're going to supply the right data, we're going to open up what we're doing to the people so they can observe it, so they can follow what we're doing. Denying people access to information and resources or sites where projects are happening would not be the best. So if we have developed the technology and people are on the ground in the different LGAs across the seas, across the seas geopolitical zones like we have it, they should be empowered, knowing whether they are free to go and see that, because it's a very quick scenario where it was an airport being built by a governor and people were literally stopped from coming to follow the promises or the project itself. So they really cannot report what is going on. So if transparency would happen, they must give citizens the opportunity to be able to go and access those things, just similar to election results and what have you. But we're so passionate and confident about what Follow the Promises is doing. Now we know that there are communities in some part of the country that have not seen power in 58 years, in 28 years. Right. And so we're just trying to make sure that all of this data are out there. And
friends, I'm glad I had two of you. And this is what I'm going to say. We're going to be bringing you guys back very soon because we're going to be tracking what you're doing with those apps and those innovative ideas. So we're going to have a fuller time when we can discuss. Thank you very much for coming on the show. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Amchama. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Thank you. That's our time on the beam today. Thank you for staying tuned. Don't forget that we can continue this conversation rather on social media via, tweet at us via X and use the hashtags on your screen. Let us know what you think can be done to build trust further, in this sphere. As usual, we'll be leaving you with our top 5 most viewed videos. I'm Student Nathaniel. Until I come your way next week, it is my hope that beyond looking at the technology to come help us rebuild our broken trust in various sectors, we as well as a people will begin to redefine ourselves and become a nation made solely of individuals who are trustworthy, accountable, a nation thriving on merit, justice, and equity. Bye for now.
The Buhari that you met, that you knew, that you had conversation with, which you've said is government, was the most corrupt government.
Put all the government together, is the most corrupt government.
This week, we begin the countdown of our most viewed videos with a discussion around the fall of the Naira. Speaking as a guest on Politics Today, the chairman of the Zenith Labour Party, Mr. Dan Wayanwu, alleged that the last administration was the most corrupt in Nigeria's history, adding that the nation is still reeling from the effect of that administration.
In Nigeria, all the governments in Nigeria, all the corruption
since 1960,
Buhari's government was the worst, or is still the worst, since 1960.
At least 5 people have been reported killed and many others kidnapped by bandits.
Our 4th most watched video of the week is a report from our News at 10 in which it was disclosed that at least 5 persons had been killed by bandits in Kaduna. The victims, including an ex-CBN director. The bandits also kidnapped at least 50 persons.
I've listened to them very well. We heard them loud and clear. We will go back to the drawing board and review the situation here with an expectation on how to improve security of this general area.
From Tinubu, we were expecting that he has around him expertise And we were expecting that for him to have announced the removal of subsidy, he must have done a plan.
Third on our list is a video in which an elder statesman and former member of the House of Representatives, Dr. Usman Bugaje, said he is extremely disappointed that President Bola Tinubu stopped fuel subsidy without plans to cushion its effects on the lives of the ordinary citizens, adding that there remains a disconnect between the government and the masses.
You don't take a policy without make a policy without looking at the consequences and preparing to cushion the effect of that. But apparently, he did that without any preparation.
In second place on the top most viewed videos on our YouTube this week is a clip from Oyo State where citizens staged a protest over the high cost of living, saying it's their rights to protest to ensure that the government listens and acts swiftly before hunger kills every Nigerian. And this week at the topmost spot on our list is a video in which the police in Rivers State displayed the body of a slain notorious cult leader, Tubaba, affirming that the criminal who was responsible for killing a DPO in Ahoda had been neutralized, thereby restoring peace within the community.
We had the first battle with them. They escaped with bullet injury. A lot of recoveries were found in their camps. Arms were recovered and many, many other things. So while they were escaping, along the way, they were destroying petroleum pipelines until they got to Ibra's side of Ahoda West.
That's it on our countdown today. Join us next week for more viral videos.